You're still live on New Day here on TV3. It's time now for Big Issue. There's a lot to talk about on this segment today. I mean, the main part of the conversation will center around the 100 days of John Mahama as president. Yesterday was exactly 100 days. I mean, he won election to undertake his second term after campaigning on a promise to reset Ghana. The conversations have centered around whether Ghana is on a path as he promised to reset the nation in terms of the governance structure, in terms of the economy, the anti-corruption fight, which is a component of governance, as well as the protecting the environment, very key aspects of the NDC's campaign towards winning the elections. And so those are matters that will engage our attention this morning. We would also touch briefly, because, mind you, the NDC took over power from the NPP. It was the NPP's defeat in the 2024 elections that resulted in the NPP taking over, the NDC taking over power. And so that is an area that we'll be looking at, because the opposition New Patriotic Party is also undertaking its own means of reorganization. As many political parties do when they lose election, there's an investigative committee that takes place to try and look into why they lost the elections, to try and learn from some of the things. So mostly around that period, you see a lot of individuals within the parties speaking out publicly. It becomes an avenue for people who have kept quiet for so long to express their concerns. And once they do so, more often than not, the parties, they are not happy. And they try to summon people here and there, crack the whip, just to try and keep the party unity. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And the result is people setting up their own political parties. But in the end, all what we want is the political system to be vibrant enough to ensure that the very best comes out of our elections to lead the nation. And so all those are issues that we'll be tackling this morning. And joining me is the regular Friday team. Look, let me tell you something. Sometimes I wish I can tell you what you talk about before you hear from us, but I can't. Because the things they talk about, let me try if they'll tell you. Kwame Jantwa, our own uncle, he's a legal practitioner, energy analyst, a member of the Convention People's Party, Kwame Nkrumah's own party. Mr. Jantwa, it's good to see you.
It's good to see you too. Good morning.
Do you have an answer for my viewers?
No, I don't.
Okay, to which of the questions?
None. That conversation is private.
It's private, eh?
If we wanted to show, the cameras will show us we are talking.
I see.
So let's keep it there.
This one is not my fault. I wanted you to
Otherwise, it will overtake the discussions we are going to have.
I see.
You want me to start?
Oh, no, don't start.
Okay.
Let's be there.
Let me stop.
Abraham Amaleba is a legal practitioner. He is also a member of the NDC and the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority. He's joining us as well. Mr. Amaleba, good to see you once again.
Good morning to you and to your viewers. But you see that we are celebrating Easter, and the activities have just begun. I want to tell drivers to be circumspect when they are driving. Indeed, they must arrive alive with the passengers. There are two reasons why driving was introduced into the world. One is to ensure easy movement, and two, for efficient movement as well. So driving is not supposed to be killing people. That's not what it's supposed to be. So let's ensure that when we are on the roads during this period, we observe road signs, we observe the speed limits. When you're approaching a town, they say 50 miles per hour, slow down. Don't just drive into the city as if you are on the highway. I think when we do this, we'll be able to ensure. So my men are on the road with the MTTD, and they will be giving on-the-spot road safety educations to people. So let's all be circumspect to ensure that we have a free accident Easter.
One of my uncles always used to tell me that when I started driving, he told me I should observe how drivers move when they are carrying eggs and how they move when they are carrying human beings. And I was just thinking about it.
And I'm surprised that they are very careful when they are carrying eggs, as against human beings. Yeah, so what is the problem?
Yeah.
You know, Christmas was developed by a commercial company. Not Christmas, but yes, Christmas. That day 24. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Which company was that?
I don't know the company. What I do know is about the fact that when they did the period of when the birth took place, the data points to the fact that it was not within December. So it was a celebration that came eventually.
It was Coca-Cola.
Oh.
Coca-Cola was a summer drink. And they wanted to permeate the winter. So if you look at Father Christmas, he's in Coca-Cola colors. But Easter was the celebration that everybody celebrated before Coca-Cola now brought in Christmas.
I see.
So Easter is an important time, very important time. The crucifixion of Christ, very important.
I mean, for us Christians, I mean, it's the ultimate sacrifice.
Yes.
It's the ultimate sacrifice that created the new way for everyone.
And it should teach us how to sacrifice for our nation too.
Yeah.
Does it? Does it? It doesn't. But it's important.
Next to Mr. Jantua is Ebo. Ebo supports the best team on earth, aside from Asante Kotoko. And the Real Madrid fans, they are not happy. I don't know why. Ebo, why are they not happy? What have we done to them?
But I said it 2 weeks ago. I said Real Madrid is a sinking.
You saw what Arsenal did.
Yes,
yeah, I mean, I remember during the conversation, you said Arsenal was going to win.
Real Madrid was a sinking ship, and I knew it was going to happen. Prof, Real Madrid sank.
Yeah, we accept defeat.
Yeah, and then my good friend Solomon Owusu. Solo.
Okay, yeah, Tuesday, for the Tuesday.
Yeah, Solo, I think he's the chairman of Real Madrid supporters of Ghana. Solo, I greet you. This was special greetings from your brother.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I told you so.
They will bounce back. We hope that in the anger of their defeat, they shouldn't bring it onto us. When Barcelona will play them in the coming weeks, they should be kind.
But there was a miracle that took place yesterday, mind you, and you will not talk about that.
Yeah, that was
talk about what happened.
That was
the fact that we are,
you know what shocked me about?
You see,
what shocked me
the
about
fact that we are down doesn't mean that we allow ourselves to be dragged on the floor. I will resist that.
You tried, greet me. You tried. You tried.
Yeah, our team is down.
You tried.
We agree we are down.
You tried.
But when you beat me and I'm down, to be dragging me on the floor, I'll resist that one. That one I'll resist it.
Yeah.
So you need to give us credit.
But what surprised me is the jubilation.
Yes.
Why shouldn't they jubilate?
But we're nearly going out.
If you have Maguire scoring goals and Kobe Manu and the others
Leon, he should be
scoring goals,
comfortably beating them.
Leon is
But
not
you
that
know
bad.
our status now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you should look at that.
Okay.
And if we beat even the Susubiribu Kurapo, we have to celebrate because our situation is dire. Okay. So coming back from a near defeat, and plucking it from the jaws of the lion. It's something we must commend.
Yeah.
Even though our boys too.
No, you played.
Yes, our boys too sometimes.
I mean, from a 2-goal lead, you now were behind by 2 goals and you managed to come back and win. There's a video of a boy who was actually crying when Manchester was losing. And there's another video of him after the last ball went into the net. And someone was just saying that he will not forget that memory for the rest of his life. And I mean, they have a fun for life. I mean, with such, those are the things that get people hooked onto the teams.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we in Ghana here, we cannot get our young people to do that kind of thing with our football. We need to change the trajectory of our football. Because once upon a time, when we were young, we used to go to Kumasi, Kumasi Sports Stadium to watch Kotoko play. And it was fascinating.
But it's sad. It's sad that on national television, we are not talking about Asante Kotoko, House of Folk. I used to leave Bolgatanga and come to watch House of Folk in Accra Sports Stadium. I'll arrive in the morning. By 11, I'm in the stadium. Because by 2, the place is full.
Yeah, you don't get access.
And in fact, we used to urinate where we sit.
Yes.
Or if you stand up, someone
we used to urinate where we sit. I would travel from Bolga just to come and watch House Kotoko. Those days when I was in secondary school. Today, it's not like that.
But when Hassan Kotoko were really in their full regalia, the blaster was strong. If you remember, the blaster was really strong. I remember I went to Kumasi Sports Stadium to watch a game with my dad, and I saw an old lady about 70 years wearing a T-shirt. We are all part of the game. I think I was about 5 years. And I asked my dad does she also play the game? And said, no, she's a fan of House of Folk. But let me say, is it on me now?
Oh, yes,
let me say
good morning
to... you don't have to introduce me, right?
That's fine. Professor Enokopoku.
Let me say good
governance
morning.
And policy analyst.
Good morning to all our listeners everywhere.
A very big man.
Very big man.
Oh, I'm a small man. I'm just a servant. All our listeners all over the world. You know, Easter is a day that I cherish so much because Christ has paid the price. And I want our listeners to become natural optimists, just as Jesus did. Look for the solutions rather than dwelling on problems. If you look at Anno Domini, which is over 2,025 years ago that Christ died, we've been celebrating his death for over 2,000 years. And yet our count, the head count that we did, talked about almost 75% of Ghanaians being Christians, about 70%, 71% being Christians. and they are supposed to model the way in terms of morality. But if you look at the negative energy, the corruption, the backbiting that goes on in our country, I think this is a time for us to reflect on that and pick up the moral uprightness of what Christ taught us, instead of just going to church and coming to do the same thing. It doesn't help anybody. It is time for Ghanaians to rise up and do the right things for our country.
I think I agree, and I think the point Mr. Johnson made about the ultimate sacrifice, about the need for us to love the nation enough and not seek personal interests. I mean, for a lot of young people that I interact with, and even myself as a young person, the point that a lot of us tend to make is that sometimes things are in a state that it's very difficult to have confidence in the country, that things can change on its own. So in the end, you more or less want to strive to make things better at a personal level. And that is what we see happening all across. Everyone,
we don't seem to love our country. If you go to the advanced world, come to America, every house, you see American flag. You never see a Democratic flag or a Republican flag. It's America. USA. If you go to Europe, the same thing. They love the country because that country gives you identity. Unfortunately, in a part of the world, it is our political parties that we hear so much, and we don't seem to love our country. That is why individuals are richer and the country becomes poorer every day.
But if you have a country that is not functioning, what is your riches in there? How can you have a country?
Exactly.
How?
I mean, the only difference is, I mean, if you're able to get to a certain level, you escape about 90% or...
What level?
I mean, the level where, level? So for instance,
you're a rich
man. you get home, your light is out.
Like yesterday.
You have a power plant.
Water out.
You have a power plant. You've escaped that. The water is not flowing. You have your own system of water supply at home. You've escaped that. You are moving away from the house. Public transportation is terrible. You are in your own car. You are moving. The roads are very bad. But if you are in a trotro and you are in a V8, you are...
And you don't care. You don't care.
People,
because you're sitting in a V8. No, you do not care.
No, you actually care, but the situation has forced everyone to want to get to that minimum level.
You know the challenge. The middle class in this country today don't care about anybody.
That's true.
That middle class, they don't care about anybody.
You belong to the middle class, right?
Well,
you don't care.
Am I not sitting here? Am I not talking? Have I not been talking since 2000?
Yeah.
How many people who have the wherewithal will come and sit on TV and say this is wrong? Because they are thinking of their interest, what they can get for their families. And everybody is what? You get to a traffic light and you see a small child begging, and you ask yourself, shouldn't this child be in school? And our big people pass these children every day. Don't they see that what is happening on the roads is wrong? What do they do about it? What do they do about it? And some of us come and sit here and talk about it. Nothing changes. Is the country going on? There's an article here about Archbishop Duncan Williams talking about development, and that within 4 years you cannot develop a country. The best is 100-year development. Countries are doing it. Why aren't we doing it? When President Mahama talked about President Atta Mills talked about the 40-year National Development Plan, didn't we bastardize him?
Yeah.
Did we not?
Yeah.
And what was Nkrumah's plans? He had 5, 7, 10.
Plan, yeah.
Where is ours? It makes it very difficult. You sit back and you ask yourself, where is this country going? With the kind of natural resources we have, we should not be begging. We should not be begging. We have it all.
It is more of a chicken and egg situation. People feel isolated, that the state is not doing much for them.
Yeah.
So who should we go the way the American president said, don't think about what your country do for you, but what you do for your country? People are beginning to think that, look, as a country, if I'm sick, I'm left to my own devices. You have seen people on TV begging for this chemotherapy, what is it, those things, that machine, to be put on that machine. You know? Dialysis,
yeah.
To put on that dialysis machine. That is so common in other countries that you won't be begging for that.
Even oxygen is a problem here.
Oxygen is a problem.
Yeah. That we can buy 4x4.
So you begin to wonder whether it is a state that must provide safety for the people to now realize that, look, I also have to give my best, or it is the people who must sacrifice before the state comes. So it's a chicken and egg situation.
It can't be a chicken and egg situation. It can't be a chicken and egg situation.
Being Easter and the fact that two important things Jesus did as a great leader. First, you've mentioned one, sacrifice. His resurrection also represents newness, right? So two things, sacrifice and newness. I mean, if we're able as a nation, our leaders will look at sacrificing, how they will be able to sacrifice for the betterment of our nation, how they will not be selfish and be stealing and be looting, but they will be thinking about the people. It's a sign of sacrifice. It means you are prepared to give it all, your all. That's what Jesus did on the cross. And when he resurrected, that is the newness. And so, for example, the Bible says, if Christ had not risen, then our faith is in vain. So that newness, if you relate it to what the president promised Ghanaians, he said he's going to reset. It's a sign of newness. We want to see things that we've never seen before. We want to see how this country is going to be governed in a way that will look and say, this is different. This is a clear departure from how things have been done in the past. So, yes, Easter, Good Friday to our viewers, and then also to all our loved ones. But the two things, as I said, sacrifice and newness. Try to do something new, something that you've never done before, especially to our political leaders, something that would make people feel better, not the same way of doing things, which like the typical
business as usual
mosaic cat and mouse game between NDC and NPP, which has led us nowhere anyway. So that is what I would say today being a special day.
Okay. It cannot be a chicken and egg situation.
Well,
and why can it be a chicken and egg situation? We the people decided that a group of people have told us they can do something for us to help us live a better life. So what did we do? We went to the polls, we voted for them to come in to manage. If they are not managing well, whose responsibility is it? Whose responsibility is it? Yes, I should do my part. And what is my part? I shouldn't be throwing rubbish around. I shouldn't be choking the gutters. I should drive properly. Things that are right, I should do.
You should pay your tax.
I should pay my tax. I should do all those things. But the responsibility is on those we decided to put in place to man up. Because all of us can't go there.
So let me, as a leadership person, let me come in this way. 80% of leadership is followership. So we always concentrate on the 20%, which is the leadership. But the chunk of it is followership. And political followership has failed us equally as political leadership. Why? Because we have a lot of blind loyalty to our political leaders, that we don't even have critical friends who will stand up to the leaders and say that what you're doing is wrong, because they are afraid of losing their positions. Come to the workplace, the same thing. If you are the boss, we build institutions around individuals here. So if you are the boss, you go to a meeting and you be the only one talking. Nobody talks back when you are speaking because they are afraid of their job. That culture that we built here is not helping us, because we need that kind of dissenting views. If you want to build a country,
it's not only here.
I know, but I'm building a point. It's like you are heckling me today.
No, you're concentrating.
I started talking as you were talking. Go and answer Valentejos. I was debating Valentejos from 2000s. We have also been talking. We have been demonstrating. We've been doing student leadership. And I've been telling you that the problem has been the same. The problem has been the same because the leaders are not modeling the way.
Therein lies the point about the fact that followers can do the very basic that is expected of them.
They cannot do the very basic because you can't. My point is that
that's on the assumption that leaders are even doing the basic, which we know they are not. But we are saying that if they even do the very basic, it will still come down to some of the key decisions, because who controls the purse? Who controls the power?
So let me tell you the kind of leaders we need. We need future-focused, out-of-the-box thinkers who build effective relationship, and then they use measured risk and strategic goals to achieve priorities. Those are the leaders we need.
Define that, bro.
And
break
leaders
that, bro,
are supposed to model the way, you see, but followers are supposed to also guide them and give them feedback and feed forward as to the right thing to do. John Maxwell always say that it is lonely at the top. And I'm telling you, as a leader, there are many things that come to you that are filtered. People will come to those who report to you, oh, don't worry, this is propaganda. But it's a big issue. And that is why President Mahama, I like what he's doing now, because his first term, there are many things that he learned that he didn't know. We have our blank sites. So the followers are supposed to be critical friends. I keep saying this every time. Tell your leaders that this is wrong. Can we do it this way? Or I suggest we do things this way. It helps the leader, because knowledge is not in one person's head. But when we leave our leaders to talk all the time at meetings, everybody want to please the leader, then we have a problem, because we are all trying to catch the eye of the president. So let's have dissenting views. And this started right from independence. Even those who brought dissenting views were put to jail. You know, so a lot of people are quiet here. They don't talk about issues. If you go to abroad, Europe and North America, you have even your children telling you that this doesn't make sense. And then you have to explain to them why it makes sense. Here, even somebody comes to my office and say, Prof, can I speak? You are there to speak to me.
But you don't borrow things, hook, line, and sinker and bring it here. Why should my child tell me it doesn't make sense?
No, but if what you're saying doesn't make sense to your child.
No. We have all these things are done within the cultural context.
It's not about culture. If it doesn't make sense to a child, explain to the child so that it makes sense to him.
No. There's a way you can tell a parent that to say your son, it doesn't make sense.
Yes, it doesn't make sense to his childish mind.
We don't do it here like that.
It's not done like that here. It's not done like that here.
Don't do it like that. Let's do this. If you say we
have our own culture,
it means no. But that child is learning from you as a first teacher.
But it doesn't make sense. It's not an insult.
It's not. It's never an insult.
The cultural context.
It's also not disrespect.
So explain to him and make it make sense to him.
Let's do it. Yes,
Let me give you one example of one word. Your mother. Your mother gives different meanings. Huh? Are you following?
Yes.
Prof, your mother. Your mother gives two different meanings. So the cultural context must be taken into consideration. Yes, where you are hearing it from, it is not an insult. But we feel offended.
Yes.
You must accept that.
Yes.
You can still achieve that same aim of correcting your parent by saying it in a way that he will still know that you are rebuking him. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's fine.
It's fine.
I mean, I think all these are interesting topics that
it's fine.
Engage national attention every now and then. But now, let's narrow it down, because, you know, the conversation centered around the lessons from Easter and what it means for the governance as a whole. And, I mean, we've had John Mahama doing his second term, 100 days so far. Today is actually 101 days since he took over. And let's start the conversation just about now. I mean, there's a lot that he promised, and just up on your screen is the social contracts. You know, what he did before he won the election was to do 120-day social contract, various matters that he wanted to raise and bring it up. First, he said he was going to nominate and complete the list of cabinet ministers in the first 14 days. He also promised to constitute the leanest and efficient government under the Fourth Republic in 90 days. He wanted to establish a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials. Hold a national economic dialogue to discuss the true state of the economy, scrap e-levy, COVID levy, 10% levy on bet winnings, and emissions levy in 90 days. Review taxes and levies on vehicles and equipment imported for industrial and agricultural purposes in 90 days. Commence drafting needed legal amendments and prepare for the implementation of the 24-hour economy policy. Establish an accelerated export development council to promote exports. Convene a national consultative conference on education to build consensus on the needed improvements. Implement the no academic fee policy for all first-year students in public tertiary institutions. Introduce free tertiary education for persons with disabilities. The Ghana Medical Care Trust, that is the Mahama Cares Fund, commence the distribution of free sanitary pads to female students in primary and secondary schools. And he also commenced investigative process to purge state security agencies of militia and vigilante elements, reopen investigations into major unresolved criminal cases, and initiate a probe into the man-made disaster caused by the VRA spillage from the Akosombo and Pond dams, and initiate immediate steps to compensate the flood victims, carry out a shake-up of all loss-making SOEs and realign them to break even and transition into profit-making. So even while going through them, I think we can all see that some of them are being implemented already. We know that some of them are also outstanding, but I want us to first start on a general level. I mean, in December, when the nation went to the polls, there were lots of sentiments. There were opposing views whether the nation was heading in the right direction or the wrong direction. The people of Ghana decided. Now, the question I want to ask around the table first is, do you get a sense that from December 7 till now, we are moving in a different direction, or we are still at the very place where we were, or at least we are taking steps towards a much better direction? And I want to start with you, Prof. That's the question to you. Do you get a sense that we're in the right direction?
Yes, I do. I do. Give me about 4 minutes, and then I'll explain why. If you want to research something, it's about awareness. And creating awareness means you need to set up goals. And in doing that, you create that kind of perception in people's mind. If you look at 4 years that a president have to be in office, and then the way you need to prioritize, you can talk about inflation that has really come down. Every month it's coming down, so that's a good thing. If you talk about the city, you can see that it's been stabilized. That's a good thing. Talking about nominating a complete list of cabinet within 14 days, he did that. And we had the leanest ministers and deputy ministers. I will talk about the numbers. The average age was 48, so very young. Constituting the leanest government, I've talked about. Code of conduct is there, which is a good thing. The president has declared his asset as mandated by the Constitution. He has held a national economic dialogue to talk about the economy, how we need to fix it. He has scrapped e-levy, BET tax, and then the emission levy. A friend of mine said that he had won 3,000 Ghana cedis bet in October last year, but he let the money sit in there because he didn't want to pay the 10%. As soon as it was scrapped, he took all his 3,000 and nothing was taken away.
Oh, they didn't deduct him?
Yes, they didn't. So it means it is working very perfectly well. Free first-year university tuition for the disabled is now in place, which is working. We have the inquiries into the major public scandal. ORA has made a report. I'll talk about what is yet to be done. Education Reform Committee has been formed. National Constitutional Reform Committee has been formed. Fighting Galamsey, now the soldiers are involved. I heard from Dr. Amani Boama, that soldiers are involved in the process. We've reclaimed 7 out of the 9 forest reserves that was taken away. Some foreigners have been deported. Others are also facing the rigors of the law, which is good. Then we have education also having a reform, engaging all stakeholders to talk about free senior high school, how we can strengthen it. We have some food issues that they went to Tema Harbor to make sure that food is released to the senior high school so that they can use it to feed the students. I've seen pictures and videos of students saying that really they are enjoying some good food, which is in the right direction. And then implement the non-academic fee policy for all first-year students in public and tertiary institutions. That is also going on. Ghana Medical Care, Mahama Care, we talked about that, is being worked on. The promise of commencing and distribution of free sanitary pads. 300 million Ghana cedis have been issued to do that. I've heard different stories that why don't you build our own factory here that we can produce sanitary pads. It's a good idea that we can give it a thought. I think it will help us.
No, but
seed money.
There are factories here that build.
Yes, but well, if government want to inject some money into it so that we can produce more jobs, I think that would be okay.
There's a lack of $1 billion.
Yeah.
Which the importers bring in.
I mean, I told you I'm also Kwame. You are heckling me. He's allocated seed money for the establishment of the Women Development Bank as he promised. Launched some job programs such as the 1 million coders, Jumawura program, National Apprenticeship program. And he's also allotted monies to compensate the flood victims at the Oti, Bono East and the Savannah. Then there are other achievements too. His comment discussion with the key stakeholders to restore peace at Boko, which is very important to me. Asante here has been tasked to lead that process. Then he has saved us money on the 6th March anniversary. Remember, we didn't spend so much money. He constituted and commenced the set up the gold board. And we know that their job is to formalize the country's gold trade to maximize benefits the country gets from that trade. And then he set up a tripartite committee to negotiate and determine the minimum wage and base pay for public sector workers, which is also very important because the cost of living, and you see the way Ghanaians are paid, doesn't commensurate with the cost of living here. So that's in the right direction. The Ministry of Education has also reduced the University of Ghana residential facility fees from 3,000 Ghana cedis to 2,500 Ghana cedis, which is also good because most parents cannot afford it. He halted the sale of state lands and ordered Land Commission to make sure that they give us a report on how we purchase land. And he has asked state officials not to purchase state lands. He also instituted National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving services on July 1st, which is going to be a holiday. Then he averted a looming food crisis. I've talked about it in secondary schools. He tightened surveillance at the market. Now we know there are a lot of fire burning. So the National Fire Service is being worked on to make sure that they come closer to the market to make sure that these fires will stop. Then with few days of fuel supply left to him, we know now that we have power, which is still stable. I've talked about oral. So far, 70 people have been either arrested or interrogated. And that involves over 280 cases of corruption that the committee gathered. Then in 30 days, he appointed 56 ministers and deputies, which is 23 ministers, 16 regional ministers, 13 deputies, and then 4 ministers of state. 46 of them were sworn in within 30 days. And you know, we still have 4 yet to be appointed. Yeah. So he also drafted the needed legal framework for the 24-hour economy. So the legal framework is being drafted. Now, what he's working on is the banning of illegal mining. That, people have talked about that. We need to work more on that. The code of conduct, we want to see it being effective. Then levies on vehicles and equipment for industrial agricultural purposes, that is also being worked on. The establishment of Accelerated Export Development Council, we need that to be worked on. And then forensic inquiries into these, that is where a lot of people are waiting for. The collapse of Ghana banks, which cost us over 250 billion Ghana cedis, illegal printing of monies at Bank of Ghana, 58 million national collateral, National Cathedral scandal, illegal and single source contracts, COVID-19 expenditure scandal, PDS, JAPA, SML, ambulance spare parts deal, 13th African Games. We know there were some scandals there. The Sky Train, the Palugu Dam, the Masset issue, the Galamsey fraud, Mexican excavators and tricycles, Sputnik V, bust scandals, and a lot of these, we are waiting for it to be executed. So I think, you know, he has done phenomena in his first 100 days.
I mean, the list of what is outstanding and what he's done, I mean, if you are to put the two together and come to a conclusion, would you score him? Would he cross the 50 threshold, or he's within the 90s?
I'll give him 80% for the first 100 days. And I think that is unprecedented. I've never done so before, because Kufuor's first 100 days, I was at ATL FM in Cape Coast reviewing it. And looking at the successive governments that we've had, I think that for the first 100 days, he's really done exceptionally well. But those that are yet to be done, like the scandals, like the Customs Amendment Act, a lot of things need to be done. But for the first 100 days, remember, he has 4 years mandate. But for the first 100 days, which is 3 months and 10 days, he's done exceptionally well.
I mean, Ebo, let me come to you now. I mean, what's your own assessment of 100 days of John Mahama 2?
Let me say, I would want to look at it from the points, about four points. The issue of the economy itself, the issue of Galamsey, corruption, and the youth unemployment. I mean, these are critical issues that we need to consider if we are assessing the performance of the government. I believe that and these 4 issues were major issues in the run-up to the election. And so how the government has performed in respect of these areas is worth assessing. On the issue of corruption, I believe that so far we've seen commitment, the government's commitment to fighting corruption. The oral thing is good. We all agree that it's something good that has to be done properly. You've experienced the trailer in Manila, and we are waiting for the second one, which is the Rambo in the jungle. That's what we are waiting for. And so Ghanaians are patiently waiting to see what the government will do in respect of fighting corruption. Because corruption has been the bane of our development. The fact that we are running a system that allows young men to enter politics and become rich overnight. I mean, they loot the country. I've always said, Nana Akufo-Addo left the corruption door ajar and looked away, allowing his family, his friends, his cronies, allies, his boys, so to speak, to loot this country as if there were no tomorrow. And Kennedy Japan said something similar. He said, these people, and he was part of MPP, but he said, these people, referring to if you like, the cabal, that they were looting the country as if there was no tomorrow. And that, what is even more annoying is that when they looted, the money didn't stay in Ghana. They invested the money outside. So corruption is something that Ghanaians are very much interested in. So the government, we are all waiting, because the Attorney General promised us that I think the time he gave us is long overdue, that he was going to come again to tell us more about the things they've done. I'm also told that they want to be careful so that they don't go to court and hit the rock like the previous government did. So they want to be careful with the kind of investigation they are doing to some of these allegations or corruption issues that have come up. So corruption, but you see, I believe that we need to restructure the anti-corruption institutions we have. I believe that the way to go is to have one major institution, like Alan proposed in the GT, having an anti-corruption czar who is responsible for corruption in this country, who has the prosecutorial power from the Constitution to even take on the president and take on even the Attorney General. But as you speak, Special Prosecutor, for example, would have to take his power from the Attorney General. His powers are so limited because he doesn't derive it from the Constitution. It is important the Constitutional Review Committee will look at this so that we have one institution. If you're going to have one institution and agencies within the institution, like the way we have Yoko here, CID here, NIB here, if you can have one anti-corruption institution, then within the institution you have agencies, so that one man who has his power from the Constitution or one woman who has a power from the Constitution will be in charge, so that the person will have the prosecutorial power which is derived from the Constitution to be able to prosecute people, including the president, if the president does something wrong. And that person should not be somebody who's supposed to be appointed by the president. I mean, these are critical issues. If we want to fight corruption, we should learn from those who have done it better. Singapore, even Ethiopia, they're all doing better with corruption because of the way they have restructured the anti-corruption institution. So I think we need to do that because corruption is a very important issue. And also find a way to question the young men, those who have bought four plots of land, who have built on 4 plots of land, 2 plots of land, at areas like Airport Hills. Chado, those people, they need to tell us how they got money to build within 4 years, those mansions, the source of funds, the source of income. I mean, that is how we can fight corruption. If people come into politics, they make so much, they go out of power, nothing is done to them, no question is asked. You see them riding in cars they couldn't afford some few years back. You see them living in houses they couldn't afford a few years back. Nothing is done about. No question is asked. So corruption is important. Then one area which I believe the government is doing well so far is the issue of Galamsey. I believe that so far, even though it is too early yet, but if you look at the efforts, if you look at what recently happened, the fact that they had to go to a whole community that has developed over the years to burn it down. Yes, that is a very good step. But the point is that beyond that, what do we do? So that those people will have to find it. It's going to be like water. If you stop water here, it will find its own level somewhere. So once these people are no more within that locality, where are they going and how are you going to track them to see that they don't regroup elsewhere to continue with the activity? So Galamsey, I believe so far, commitment has been shown. The minister is been speaking tough, which is quite important. And on the issue of the economy, which I will link it to the unemployment issue. You see, as for the economy, I believe that it is too early to talk about the economy. If you look at the fact that this economy was so badly battered in the past, I mean, how we allowed this economy to sink the way it did. It will take us a longer time to fix the economy. But let me say that so far, the government has shown commitment in the area of the expenditure management, which is very important. We are yet to know how they are going to bring in the money through taxes, revenue, and non-tax revenues, because you can only spend what you have. Yeah. And the government has shown commitment that we are not going to spend what we don't have, which is quite important. But you see, my issue is that, you see, when Trump 10% issue came up, see the way we were shivering. I've said that even before Trump 10% came, our exporters were not competitive. Because we've not developed the kind of environment that will make our exporters and even those who are into import substitution competitive. Because if you check all the macroeconomic indicators we have in this country, it's not possible to have this kind of environment and expect your people to be competitive. So even with the 10%, if our cost of production in terms of export was that low, we wouldn't be so much bothered, because we know that we are cutting our cost here. Every rational producer would want to look at profit first before any other thing. So I think that still we need to do more to make sure that we sanitize the macroeconomic environment. I believe, I have said it, I have confidence, so much confidence in the Bank of Ghana, the new governor. Of course, he's increased the policy rates to 28%. I understand what he's doing. He wants to, stabilize the economy. He wants to check inflation. He wants to reduce money supply in the system as a way of controlling inflation. But I've said that if you look at the tools the governor is available to the governor to use, if you look at the policy rate, if you look at open market operations, moral suasion, if you look at the cash reserve ratio bits, is where I have this to suggest. We have captured it in our GTP, that banks are expected to keep a certain percentage of total deposit with the Bank of Ghana. So those with a 55% loan deposit ratio are supposed to deposit 15%. Some are supposed to deposit 20% and 25%. That money sits idle at Bank of Ghana. So if you want to fight inflation and the exchange rate, and you think that controlling money supply, which will help you to fight it from the demand end, it is good. What you need to do is to think of fighting it from the supply end, which is more serious. Because people, the fact that I have money does not mean I'm going to buy 2 milk. I'm going to eat 2 milk a day. Yeah. Do you get the point? But if there's no milk at all to buy, then the price of milk will go up. Yeah. So the supply side is also equally important, even if it is even more important than the demand side. So what we are saying, what we said as a movement for change, what we said was that, why don't we fall on that money that's sitting there idle at the Bank of Ghana, the cash reserve? Why don't you channel it into productive sectors of the economy? Do you get the point I'm making? So that you don't give it out
stimulus injections.
Yes, we don't give it for consumption, which will exacerbate the inflationary pressure. But you look at the productive sectors, agriculture. There are self-liquidating investment in agriculture sector, industrial sector, that we can invest in to boost our export and to reduce our importation. Okay. By so doing, you can fight inflation also from the supply side. So fighting it from demand side and supply side, in which case, in future, you can even reduce your policy rate, because then you have enough to match up with the demand that will come in, so that you can reduce your policy rate. You can now, because the economy has to expand for you to be able to create jobs. Yeah. But if you depend solely on the demand side of the equation, the economy will not expand. Okay. There will be contraction in the economy. Okay. And that is why I'm saying that the finance minister and the Bank of Ghana governor must work in tandem, so that they use both monetary policy and fiscal policy to manage some of these things. So on the economy,
You still think it's too early?
It is too early, but they are doing the right things. Let me be honest with you. They are doing the right things. So, and the unemployment issue, which is linked to the economy in any way, but so far, they launched this the coding thing, which is quite good. They are preparing them for the job market, which is very important. And but the 24-hour economy, which is supposed to be the game changer. So far, they are still looking into it. I believe that they don't have to rush it. Yeah, they don't have to rush it. Because, once again, investors and producers will not jump onto the 24-hour economy policy because it's the government policy. They will jump onto it because it is profitable, because they are driven by profits. So, the government must focus primarily on fixing the macroeconomic environment. Because if I'm borrowing at 35 to 40% and my business is not viable, it's not profitable, why would I have to produce for 24 hours? Yeah. So it is important that is also fixed, the macroeconomic environment, so that it can also accelerate the 24-hour economic policy, which is a good policy. We're expecting it to be rolled out to reset Ghana's economy. I
mean, Prof puts the score at 80%. What will your score be?
I will give 60%.
Oh, that's a significant difference.
Yes, 60%. You see, I'm saying that 100 days, you know, he gave us 120 days. 120
days, yes.
And this is 100. This is so we have more days to go. Okay. So when it's 120, that's what he promised. 120, then I will come back and reassess.
Let me come to Mr. Jantua now. And Mr. Jantua, more directly, from December 7, the way Ghanaians felt when they queued to vote, and all the way to today, are we heading in the same direction, or we are in a different direction? And is that even the right direction where we should be heading?
Let me take it from where my brother left off. And I come to the 120. Look, corruption can't be fought by President Mahama if we, the people, do not train ourselves to go against corruption. It sits with us. He can come in, bring in all the laws, bring in everything. If the courts and the people do not align with that vision, he will not succeed. Corruption is a canker with the people. Corruption is a canker with governments, with government people. Corruption is a canker, SOEs. So if he's trying his possible best to clean the system of corruption, it depends on us. It depends on when cases go to court, how the judiciary handle those cases. It depends on personal interest and spreading that personal interest to those who are supposed to handle corruption. Because if I've done some corruption, he is a lawyer, and I know where he stands, and I go and see him and say, Ebi, this thing is a big, good deal, this isn't, here, get something small. And he decides to take that something small. Will President Mahama be able to handle corruption the way he wants to? No. So it depends on us, we the individuals, we the country. You see, that question you asked initially, we don't love our country more. By so doing, we prove that we love our country. Look, this country cannot move a step if that isn't the first point of call, love of country. And we all, gradually, with what the president is trying to do, should acquiesce into it and help him achieve. When he came to the AGI, when he was standing, one of the first things some of us asked him, and I actually put that question to him, I said, Mr. President, and I called him Mr. President because he's been a president before. I said, Mr. President, you have only 4 years. You cannot do everything. How are you going to prioritize? And he said, we shall prioritize 120 day. 120 day, he prioritized everything. And you look at some of the things in there, he's been able to achieve it systematically. That shows you he's a president with a purpose. He has a purpose, and he's going to make sure that that purpose works. Now, if the people he's put in place do not link into that purpose, will he succeed? Because in the end, the buck stops with him. In the end, we wouldn't say, AB, who is at road safety, didn't do his job, so we are pointing a finger at him. No, we point it at the president. So I think we all, for the sake of this country called Ghana, if we see what he's trying to do is good, let's support. Where we need to criticize, let's criticize and give solutions and directions. And where he hears that we are criticizing A, B, C, D, E, he should take 2 steps backwards and say, what Kwame Janto is saying, is there some, what do you call it in it? Maybe, yes, there's some sense in it. Maybe we should move in that direction or move in this direction or assess what we're doing again. Because what? We are all trying to build a nation called Ghana, aren't we? Galamsey is a huge, huge challenge. And when you look in the NDC manifesto, I think before they wrote the manifesto, they were listening to some of us, where we said that small-scale mining should be done in cooperatives. It's in their manifesto. It's in there. And he is trying as much as possible to help do that. When you look at some of the things that Galamsey is bringing up, all these kind of, inverted commas, being enclosed, terrorist types of people who are coming in from other nations to do what? To dig gold so that they can make money to go and do whatever they are going to do. Yes, they want to do that, but it is hurting us and hurting our own economy by so doing. If we Ghanaians now help them, are we helping the president? Are we helping our nation? No. So it depends on us. So far as I'm concerned, he's been able to achieve nearly 90% of the 120-day agenda. And he's done it systematically, gone through everything with a fine-tooth comb, and he's executing. The thing is, in 2 years' time, in 3 years' time, would we be able to say and see the effects of the 120-day promise? How will those effects now move into the areas of the economy that would help build this economy up? And let me tell you, 4 years, true, is a short time to achieve certain things. However, it is a stepping stone for the next government that comes in to take on board. The challenge we have is that if a different government now comes in, they do what? They catapult everything out of the way, good and bad. They put it all aside and bring their own. That kind of politics causes financial loss to the state. Because some of the things that President Mohammed is doing, it entails money. It entails taxpayers' money. Ideally, a new government that comes in should look at the good things of it, and those things that they feel are not good, see how they adjust it to move forward. The most important thing is to bring this country back to a point where we are gaining success and people are gaining jobs. Look, there is no place as nice as Ghana if you're Ghanaian. There's no place as nice as... Go to Kwewu this weekend and go and see. Go to other parts and go and see. People are jubilating and having fun. Don't you see, if this country is on a certain pedestal, it will even make it better? These young people who are being introduced into coding, these young people should also be taught how to run businesses, because the government can't absorb all of them. So if coding is good, teach them what it means to be a coding individual and do your own business, because they'll go out into the world. The Indians, isn't that how they started? Are they not everywhere? Go to America, they are there. The Chinese, they are there. It creates jobs for them outside. So we need to teach them how to run your own business when you have finished this particular exercise called coding, and how you then do what? Advance yourself in that industry. Because you see, technology this time round, I think for the next 30 years, technology is going to be the central focus of every economy. What are the central focuses? Life, air, water, food, and the outside ones, energy and technology. These 5 things are the basics that people would need to move forward. We need to create a country where people can decide, oh, today, this job, I would like to change it, put in an application, and there's a job there. We don't want a situation where one job, you have nearly 10,000 people applying because there are no other jobs that they can apply for. But yes, in doing so, you need to be able to build capacity within the private sector. I mean, that is where the key is, the private sector. I expect the president, when he travels on some of his journeys, he goes with private sector people. The way Angela Merkel came to Ghana with who? Private sector people, so that they can also make connections out there with other businesses to build our economy, to build our city, and to make this country the kind of country that people would put their hands on their chest and say, yes, that is Ghana moving forward. Somebody made a statement, I'm not sure if it was you or probably it's on the radio, that when you come to West Africa, Ghana is the leader. When you come to West Africa, somebody was asking, why is President Mahama still going to Burkina Faso, Mali, and these people, trying to bring them back into ECOWAS? And the answer that that person got was that Ghana is #1 in terms of independence, in terms of making sure that we have the cohesion, in terms of making sure that things that are happening in the sub-region benefit the people. We've got to be able to do that. We've got to be able to bring ourselves together. Can you imagine if we were trading, just West Africans alone, we're trading amongst ourselves? Do you know the amount of money the sub-region will make? Yeah. The kind of businesses that will come up? I have said, and I'll continue to say, at this point, we need a national development plan for the North alone. For the North alone. Why? Because it opens us up to the landlocked countries. Today, the landlocked countries come down into Ghana to buy refined petroleum products. And even the boss of this world are trying to make sure that their depots in the north are fit enough for them to be able to draw from the depots at the border in Bolkatanga instead of coming all the way down south. Yeah. Can you imagine if we had a good development plan for the north? Businesses won't go up there. When Nigeria decided to move their capital to Abuja, what happened? Businesses followed. So if we can develop the north, I think it will be the jewel in the crown where Ghana can now open itself up as that gateway we are looking for. Okay. The south is somehow developed to a point. We have 2 ports here, which we should strengthen those ports to make it more viable and acceptable. We should make sure that the capital cities that we have here, there are those types of capital cities that generate business. And our schools, when we train our young ones in university, train them not only to go for government jobs, but also train them to be able to start their own businesses. I think it will help us. If you are going to ask me a percentage I'll give to the president, based on the 120-day, I give him 90%. Because when you look at the things that he outlined there, in terms of achievement, he's achieved most of it. And the 120 days is what? Is not yet up.
Yes,
once that 120, once those 120 days are up, we'll be able to see the full bouquet of what he had intended to do.
I mean, Abi, I heard the New Patriotic Party yesterday make the point that John Mahama is completely off track. And I've also seen other individuals who have criticized the performance of the government, largely pointing to the fight against illegal mining. They make the point that when your party was in opposition, you strongly created the impression that this was a challenge that if there was a political will, it should be dealt with. Some individuals even suggested within a week, some said within a day. All of a sudden, they say that you've taken over and Galamsey is happening. Yes, they see some efforts taking place. They point to the solutions, the water guards. They say that, is this the way to deal with it? I mean, do you share, I mean, at least around the table, the general sentiment, there's 90%, 80%, 90, 60. Do you lean towards that, or you agree that, especially on even the fight against illegal mining, that there's more that could be done?
As for the MPP, and I heard Ahiaba yesterday, the MPP, for me, is, I should say, it's a dying cockroach. And so one shouldn't take what they say into consideration. They have their own challenges, which is weighing them down. So, look, if ever the history of the Fourth Republic is going to be written, this current administration's performance will be written in gold in the annals of this Fourth Republic. Why am I saying this? You can see that for the first time we have a government that is doing what the people want. Like, we want this to happen, then they'll do it. This is what we want, then they'll do it. This one. So, because for me, governance is about the welfare needs of the people. If you are able to deal with the concerns of the people, that for me is governance. So you realize that when e-levy was scrapped, there was jubilation all over, because Ghanaians knew that that was state-sponsored robbery on their person, but they didn't have power to stop it. There was a lady in Kumasi who was so jubilant to hear that e-levy was scrapped, that she said that for how long she didn't go to remove money from a e-levy account, but now she'll go. Again, look, there was a Nigerian professor who came to Ghana, returned to his students, and told the students that, and there was my Nigerian friend who had gone back to school in Nigeria. So he gave me this story. Then look, that country, so the professor was saying it, that country called Ghana, immediately you land at the airport, the air of freedom that blows across, you will not be surprised. The air of freedom that Ghanaians are now inhaling, having taken over from the Akufo-Addo-led administration. Ask any Ghanaian. Ghanaians are not eating more than they used to eat in Akufo-Addo, but they are satisfied that at least we have a government that is dealing with our needs, and they can see it visibly. That, for me, is what governance is about. What you did by chronicling the achievements.
You mean, Professor?
Prof, actually took the wind out of my sail.
Yes, you did.
Because I did the same thing. Now I was wondering what I'm going to say to the people of this country.
So good minds think alike, right?
So the things that I'm saying now, I'm saying them thinking on my feet, but that's not what I prepared. But what he didn't add was the goal board.
No, that's why
I talked about it.
He talked about
Yeah,
it.
he talked about the small-scale mining and how they wanted to...
The good board I talked about.
Okay.
It.
But
And
as a
their
lawyer, I
mandate.
think on your feet, so.
Yes. Then there was also this small matter of workers who were sent abroad, work abroad. And Malik Bazanteli's outfit. Addressing the issue of unemployment. This is part of it. But what we are saying is that this government has started well. To know if a man is successful, it's not to look at where he has reached. It's to look at the depth from which he came. And if you look at the depth from which we came, these things that you are seeing are indicators that this government is doing well. Look, is there a government under this Fourth Republic? I can't remember that it's 100 days. There is no scandal. And that was what Ntim Fojo was trying to throw mud at everything so that it will stick. It is not easy to rule this country for this period without a single scandal. That gladdens my heart. But should anybody be surprised? What do you expect of a returnee president? These are the things we're talking about. When the MPP was saying that we've seen him before, we said that when he comes, he will do things anew. We have been vindicated. You learn your lessons. And this is what President Mahama is showing the people of this country. The MPP will try as much as they can to make inferences and try to say that certain things are not good. But the students whose monies will be returned to them in the universities will disagree with them. Those who are small-scale miners who now have a gold board will disagree with them. So, Info Analytics has indicated that the MPP as a political party currently is hemorrhaging. So don't take what they say seriously. What I want you to be doing as a journalist is to go for a vox pop, meet the people on the street, and they will tell you how this government is performing. Do you even know that there is a policy to revamp the local banks? And President Mahama has made some directives that state-owned enterprises should help the local banks to stand on their feet. These were banks killed by the MPP, virtually. So I think that because of my nature, I must find something which is not so palatable to say. The people are saying that the prosecutions must begin. The people are saying that. And for me as a lawyer, I think there are some low-hanging fruits that we can take to court now. The National Service one is so low, where 95 people are doing national service and taking money. A first-year law student can prosecute that one. So,
Law 101.
yes, I think that
You mean Akable can
prosecute that one.
Rambo, no, you're waiting for the Rambo in the jungle.
I knew that was a shot at you.
I am echoing what our people on the ground are saying. As I move, I walk about, somebody will come to a lawyer. Once we are able to jail these people, it's okay. Because the kinds of things they did against this country, financially, is mind-boggling. And I think that this is the area that I think my senior Dominic Ayene must quickly speed up. Because the boys are talking.
Speed up.
The boys on the ground are talking. So maybe he might not have heard, and this is what I want to put across. But generally, if you ask me whether the administration is doing well or not, for me, that question is a non-starter. It's a non-starter because if you have a government that has addressed majority of the concerns of the people when they were in a different government, you don't ask that question again. It's a foregone conclusion that there is commitment to deal with the welfare needs of the people. And I think that for me is what is satisfactory.
I mean, you earlier made a...
Just to add something he said, where the Attorney General is concerned. You know, as a lawyer, the burden of proof is on who?
The prosecution.
The prosecution to prove. So he has to make sure that the evidence he's going to proffer in court is sealed, because he cannot go to court and lose.
I mean, he makes the point about low-hanging fruits and...
Very low. He said very low. This one is so low.
You can go for those ones that
needs
at least because of the... And the point he makes, in fact, if you go on social media, it's one of the things that people make reference to, that the Attorney General said, what, rumble in the jungle is going to come.
Yeah, rumble in the jungle.
Yeah, and they are saying that at least they want to see something happening.
It will happen. Just give him the time to be able to make sure that what he puts out in court, he's going to win. Look, if he fails one, do you know what the opposition will do? They will cut him not with knife, not with cutlass, with acid. Cut him in half.
I want us to do a bit of just some few sector specifics, and I'll come back to you, just to start with you there on the question of Galamsey. I mean, you made a point about what people are saying, and people, when you talk to people, they make reference to Galamsey. In fact, the media coalition against illegal mining, they've made a point that you promised you're going to repeal the law that allowed the mining in forest reserves. I've also heard the environment minister, earlier clips, make the point that, well, it's going to go completely. Now I've heard another interview where he says that, well, what they are trying to do is an amendment. And people are pointing to that to say that it appears with Galamsey specifically, nothing significant is being done.
What an amendment can achieve, if that is achievable, why do you repeal? So, for instance, I'm aware there's an amendment where the president no longer can ask that you can mine in the mining. That power has been taken away. And that was a power that was being used to ask people to go into the forest reserves. So if that has been taken away, was it not about our forest reserves that we're talking about? So now we can go there and mine again. So that's my answer to that one.
I mean, to the extent that on the checklist, the promise was that it's going to go completely.
Yes,
it's not much easier to just take it off completely, just to, at least, like you said, meet the demands of the people and make them comfortable. But
I'm saying that, is it not also the case that the amendment has solved the issue? It has solved it. It is not about what you do with the law, it's about the effect of what you do with the law, the effect. On Galamsey, isn't it the case that the forestry minister said we have reclaimed some forest reserves?
Yes, he said about 7 of them so far.
Yes.
7 out of them.
When he came to complain, it was about 4 that was cordoned off. 3 more have been added. Is that not winning the war? So I really don't know what the issue is on the Galamsey. Now I'm aware soldiers have been beefed up, the security have been beefed up, and just this week, today is Friday, some confiscations and arrests were done. But you see, if you ask me, forest reserves, how do we reclaim them? I will tell you that put army camps in the various forest reserves. Rotate them every 6 months. Let them come back to the barracks, some will go. Just station them. Because even their training as soldiers is to fight in the bush. So put the makeshift, makeshift buildings, and you'll permanently be there.
Okay.
That for me is the way to deal with it.
Okay.
But for them to fight and go back, the people too will come back, and they'll be doing, Jack, where are you type of thing. So if we are committed, let's employ more soldiers, let's put them stationary at that place, then you can be rotating them. The more they stay there, the more they become corrupt. So they're also human beings. But every 3 months, 6 months, you rotate and new ones will come. I think we will be able to deal with the matter.
I mean, Mr. Jantua, I want to focus on the energy sector with you. And I mean, quite recently, in the last 2 weeks or so, there's been a bit of a power situation here and there. I mean, we've not really had a formal explanation as to what is happening. I've seen statements, various, sometimes from ECG, that they are doing some maintenance works. But, I mean, generally, from January, you agree that the power was stable, but there are some issues now.
I don't expect the power situation to all of a sudden straighten because a new government is in place. I don't expect that. There are challenges within the power sector that need to be looked at. there are challenges of feedstock. You know that we haven't done exploration to production in 8 years. So we have stranded gas. And it is gas that does what? Fuels our electricity. So if you don't have the gas, then you've got to go and find the gas to come in. I know that government has given some authority to VRA to try and get gas in through WAPCO and through the West African gas pipeline. So the feedstock is an issue. We don't have money to buy thermal and all that, but we have to keep the lights on, whatever the case is. So I do expect from time to time within this new administration, we would feel challenges with electricity. But I'm hoping that going forward, between now and the next year, 2026, that will stabilize.
Okay.
It has to stabilize. Because as I said initially, energy is part and parcel of life. Energy is not a privilege, it's a right. So we've got to make sure that our lights are on. Look, what does it aid? It aids in so many things. It helps in the economy. It helps in the city. It helps in so many things. Can you imagine going back into Dumso for the next 2, 3, 4 months? Everything will plummet. Everything will go down. So I believe government and the minister are are trying as much as possible to be on top of the situation where the feedstock is concerned. And I hope and pray that going forward, things will stabilize because we need the energy to move the country forward.
I mean, let's focus on governance now. And I mean, do you get a sense that governance-wise and maybe a component of it, the anti-corruption issues? I mean, AB makes the point about what people are saying that they want to see the prosecutions happen. Is that you share that sentiment as well?
Yes, that is. I mean, if this government is able to do that effectively, people I think I was telling somebody that you see, corruption made people hungry because they stole from the people. So people became hungry and angry. To satisfy that hunger and anger, what you need to do is to make sure that those corrupt people are prosecuted and are put before the courts and behind bars. That is what people are expecting. That you've allowed people to steal so much from this country. And it is not the best. I mean, look at some of the stories that are coming up. Quite worrying. So yes, on that score, I am with the people. And that the government will have to be very brutal when it comes to the issue of corruption, fighting corruption. And you see, we shouldn't have a situation where, ironically, the anti-corruption net will be catching the small fish and leaving out the big ones. Normally, you see that those who will be prosecuted are the CEOs, but the giants, those who have caused this country so much pain and poverty will be walking freely because they can speak to people, to talk to people on their behalf and all that. The law must be allowed to work to its logical conclusion. People must be made to face the full force of the law. I believe that if we can cut corruption by even 50% in this country, there's no way this country will go outside and borrow. All the money we borrow are stolen by politicians. And so fighting corruption, and I like the president's determination and commitment so far. He's a legacy president. I mean, this 4 years, what is he looking for? He has to leave a legacy so that his name will be written in gold. I said the last time, the opportunities before him to either become the second best after Nkrumah or second worst after Nanado. And I want to believe that he wants to be second best after Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. So, yes, on the corruption issue, but you see, our constitution, I believe that once again, the president has done well to put together a committee to look into the constitution to see areas that we can amend to to meet the challenges of the moment. I believe if we're able to restructure our constitution and our laws properly, our fight against corruption will be easier. And we can develop this country faster. Because whatever we are doing, we have to do it within the confines of the law. And if the law itself provides avenue for people to steal and get away with it, to become lazy people and get away with it, to mismanage and get away with it, then certainly we can make progress. So, yes, our laws, last time I said every country has developed on the back of two things: law and leadership. As leadership that is being provided by the president, for me, is quite good. It's a good kind of leadership. It's a clear departure from what we saw in the last 8 years. And I believe that he should be very consistent, in taking that path for the next 4 years, so that at least this country can see some enjoyment and some better life.
Mr. Johnson, what's that look about?
I'm reading social media.
What are they saying?
And somebody called Adolf Mati. He says, Lord Jantua is annoying. The only Jantua that matters is Nanaya. The brother is an elitist idiot who thinks he has to please both the MPP and NDC. What have I said?
That's a personal attack, right?
What have I said?
That's the hazard of our job. So.
It's fine.
What have I said?
As a general, would I try to avoid the social media comments?
I sat here with the sister on the day of elections for 5 hours. So Nanaya was with me here, and I think this is going to be my final word.
Yes. Wrap up for me, Prof.
I want to congratulate the IOCO for rescuing 219 individuals from child trafficking. That is a yeoman's job. Those individuals all over Africa and who have been cajoled and deceived that you are coming to Ghana for jobs.
Yes,
human trafficking is something we should all be watching for. So in our neighborhood, if you see something that is fishy, please voice out and then alert the security agencies, because a lot of individuals are being trafficked to Ghana in the name of giving them jobs, but they end up in the streets and prostitution and all those things. So let's watch out for that. The other thing I want to talk about is after the African free trade thing. Do you know that Europe is trading among themselves 62%? Europe is trading among themselves 62%. North America is 50%. In Africa, we are trading among ourselves less than 20%. What this means is that, do you know that if we can even produce Gary, Ghana can produce Gary alone? Yesterday, I harvested my own cassava. And if you look at the cassava, the bunch of cassava I had from my backyard here in Accra, if we are even selling Gary to Nigeria, look at Nigerian population, the amount of money that we can get. So we should begin to trade among ourselves. The last thing I want to talk about is, I don't know who is calling me, but the last thing I want to talk about is the way we have not been using our leadership skill set to be entrepreneurs. Why is this a problem? A lady called me from US yesterday. She's an HR person, and she was asked to use Elevate, the word Elevate, to build teamwork on TikTok, and she was paid $7,000. But look at TikTok, what we do there. We just go and say all sort of things and play, and then we don't get anything.
We show our nudity.
Yes. Can we use social media to make money for ourselves instead of just joking and playing out there? Because technology is being used for money. And Kwame talked about
the coding.
The coding. That you go and learn coding and come and stay home looking for somebody to employ you. I think we have a mindset when we are looking for a job that somebody has worked, they have money sitting down. So we go and then they have to pay us 3,000 Ghana cedis a month or 5,000, and we pretend like we're working and we get the money. That is something we should be looking for. My last word is, I want to educate our listeners how God is. Anytime I read Isaiah 1:18, God says, come, let's reason together. You see, God is somebody, he's our ultimate father. But look at his behavior. Even Abraham taught him ethical lessons. That if you are going to Sodom and Gomorrah, if you find 50 people, will you destroy them? He said, no. He said, okay, what about 40? What about 10? He was teaching God ethical lessons that there are good people out there. What about Moses telling God that, look, if you want to destroy the Israelites, then kill me first, because they will say you took them out of Egypt to kill them here. God listens. So as fathers and leaders, let's listen to the people, because Henry Kissinger says that governance is about building good relations with the people. And what is the good relationship? Doing what they want.
Okay.
I wish every Ghanaian happy Easter. Let's all enjoy it and remember Christ died for our sins, and we should also sacrifice for our country as patriots.
Yeah, but let me make this point.
That was Reverend Professor Enoch.
Yeah, let me make this point that if we are going to succeed, if our economy is going to succeed, certainly we will have to focus on export and import substitution until we make it possible for our exporters and our local producers, those who produce for local consumption, until we make it possible for them to take a loan at 10% interest rate. They will never be competitive. Okay. And we can't increase our export the way we want it, and we can't reduce import the way we want it.
There are areas of niche export that we should concentrate on. Prof talked about doing export business.
Yeah.
Salt, Nigeria, import from Brazil. We have natural salt deposits.
It comes back to the point you made about the trading within the region.
Yes.
We are 1.4 billion.
I said there are
next to Asia. Our population.
There are some products that are niche for Ghana that if we are to sit and look at, we make a lot of money. We have silica, don't we? A Tuabo mine is built on a silica mine. We have limestone, don't we?
Yeah.
We are looking to mark our roads, aren't we? We can manufacture that paint here with the natural resources we have.
Okay.
And by so doing, what do? You open it up to Africa and export your paint into Africa. That's billions of dollars. If we do not identify those niche areas that we have an advantage, then the competition becomes greater for us. Let's try and do that. So government should be able to invite private sector people in to direct them and not feel because we are government and because we are politicians and because we've been put in SOEs, we know it all. No. Politicians don't start as, most politicians don't start as business people. They start as professionals and they are put in areas to do business. And sometimes they don't understand it. Bring the business sector in to move the economy forward.
I mean, maybe I'll give you the final word.
I want to commend the president for inviting the 3 Sahelian heads of states to join ECOWAS today.
Yes.
I think that the naysayers don't know how the breakaway states has affected the ECOWAS. ECOWAS itself, the secretariat itself, is not happy that these 3 countries, was it 4 countries, have broken away. In fact, I met some of their officials and they said they're very happy about that. So you notice that ECOWAS itself has not expelled them. Now, God being so good has brought John Mahama, who these 3 countries, the head of states of these 3 countries, have confidence in. And he's leveraging on his relationship with them to bring them back. And you hear naysayers saying that it is wrong to bring them. I don't get what some people want. Is it because it is President Mahama who is championing that cause, or because the credit will go to him? Your neighbors, you must maintain constant touch and good relationship with your neighbors.
Okay.
So those naysayers who don't know what is happening, ECOWAS itself, because when you look at the map, when you take the 3 countries away, ECOWAS is now left with some small something like this. They are not happy. So ECOWAS itself is thankful that President Mahama is leveraging on his relationship. But in any case, look at what the boy is doing in Burkina Faso.
He's not a boy. He's a president. He's a president.
The boy president.
I think you are switching places this time around. Because mostly it will come from and you complain.
He's the president.
But this time around, you've walked right into it.
When you meet him, you say, Mr. President. You don't say the boy.
I am using that to show that even at that age,
look at what he's doing
to his country. And so you are the one who is always looking down upon Akable. So
I'm not looking down on him. You're putting him in his right position.
Now, the things doing there, aren't we happy that this is happening next door and that we can pick 1 or 2 things
even Benin,
to do
even
it?
the Benin president.
So for the people who are just picking out of no no reference to anything should
Ignorance.
Ignoramus people, I must use that word now, should say that what President Mahama is doing is
right.
What is right,
it's right
for now.
Yes.
And we should commend him for that.
It's right.
All right. I mean, Kwablabi from Pukwasi, Benghazi, he says, for John Mahama's 100 days in office as president, he has been able to stabilize the economy. Now, prices of goods which used to be going up is now stable. Also, corruption, which was common in MPP, has reduced drastically. Finally, President Mahama has built trust in Ghanaians that he can make Ghana a better place. So that is by way of our discussion this morning. My guests have been Abraham Amaleba, legal practitioner, member of the NDC, Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, and also a senior Kwame Jantua, legal practitioner, energy analyst, belongs to the CPP as well. Ebo Backman of
and
the
also
Movement
annoying.
for Change. Oh, not at all. Me, I don't have a problem with you. I'm at peace with everyone. Ebo Backman, a supporter of the best team on earth, Barcelona. Yes, he's also with the Movement of Change, economic and financial analyst as well. And Reverend Professor, any way you arrange it, just make sure the two titles are there. Enoch Opoku-Antwi, he is a governance and policy analyst, always joining us on Friday as well. This short time would allow us, there's a lot more happening on the show. Do stay tuned in. I'm Joseph Akable.